Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, April has arrived, which means two things. One, the draft is right around the corner. And two, we'll actually get to see this team on the field very, very soon. Of course, it's nothing like what we'll see come training camp, but at least to get to see these guys somewhat in action. Be about what? Half speed? Three-quarter speed?
You know, you've been around long enough to where there's been a lot of guys already working out.
That's true.
And usually you use the off season. You know, usually players will tell you they kind of unplug maybe for a month, and then I think the competitive juices start flowing and you start doing more. But a lot of Cardinal players that were under contract, they've been working out here. So, you know, if you're a fringe guy, you want to be in shape coming into here. Now, again, they're not in pads, and, you know, you only can get so much out of it, but you're learning a brand new system on all three phases, as well as, you know, special teams are probably going to add to it based on the new additions. They're going back to a 3-4. You're learning a brand new offense. So, you know, I think the classroom work is just as important, but the first 2 weeks is more for strength and conditioning. Obviously, you can, you know, go on the field. No coaches, no footballs out there, no helmets, no pads. But to me, it's the start of the foundation, and Kliff Kingsbury will address the team next Monday. And you wonder what the message is. You know, block out the noise, you know, the expectations. Let's go to work. So it'd be interesting to see, and I don't know if players will talk about it, but when he addresses the team. So to me, now that he's gone through the process of being hired, he's got his coaching staff, he's been involved in free agency, he's been involved now in the draft process. This is what he was hired for, getting on the football field. But there's a process to it. So it's going to be exciting because the coaches are back, the scouts are back, and besides the draft, everything now is going to be focused on what happens on that practice field.
Yeah, no longer do you use the offseason to get in shape for the season. You
Correct.
Come into shape
for
the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these guys, they're world-class athletes. You would think they're going to stay in shape, but some guys may take it a little bit for granted. But for the most part, again, you know, when we get to the on-the-field OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, and again, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because you don't know anything really until they put the pads on. But there's a thing about picking up the system, processing information, playing faster, and you'll see the progress. And then we're going to talk about an entire new rookie class coming in here and trying to fit in. So it's going to be really interesting, but also exciting at the same time.
Absolutely. It is a busy Monday here on this edition of Cardinals Cover 2, and without further ado, let's take off and tell you what's ahead on the show. Kliff Kingsbury revealed a little bit more about his offense during the annual league meeting. Larry Fitzgerald continues his speaking tour here in the Valley. Sean McVay pranks Kingsbury. It's a pretty good one, too. And, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2 to get involved in the show. We do that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday towards the end of the show, so still time to get your questions in for this afternoon. But first, the news of the day, and how about we start with this? College basketball, and a tip of the cap to Kliff Kingsbury's alma mater, Texas Tech. The Red Raiders have advanced to their first ever Final Four at the annual league meeting last week. Kingsbury had high praise for Texas Tech head coach Chris Beard.
He's phenomenal. You know, the job he's done in the short time he's been there, I mean, they're as good as anybody in the country, and he's just really getting warmed up. You know, they're building nice facilities, and he's got that place rolling. It's been fun to watch.
Now, give Coach credit. He's been on this Texas Tech bandwagon ahead of the tournament, and I ran into Coach earlier this morning, said congratulations, and he had a big smile on his face. I don't think he's going to go to Minneapolis. He could, though, on Saturday and then come back.
Well,
this is a big – I mean, this is – look, you're talking about the Final Four. One, that's a big deal. Two, when it's your first ever trip, it's a huge deal for Texas Tech.
Yeah, without a doubt, and it's a great story. And, I mean, obviously, since he was there, and, you know, he's probably got a lot of friends, and when the hire was made, he was probably, you know, encouraged that they went out and hired a guy that has been successful in a short amount of time. But maybe he can get there on Saturday. I mean, there's no guarantees on Monday, and there's a thing called a private jet.
Yeah, and the national championship on Monday. I mean, he could, you know, after.
It's in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Next year it's in Atlanta. So anyways, but I'm sure he's going to be sitting in front of the TV glued on Saturday, and we'll see how it shakes out on Monday.
Yeah, they play Michigan State on Saturday, so we'll keep an eye on
How's
that.
your bracket?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Do you how many Final Four teams do you have?
Well, I had Duke winning it all, so there's one.
Well, I'm in the same boat.
I don't think I have any.
I have Virginia. That's it.
Yeah, I threw mine away. I mean, I don't think I had any.
All
I
right.
had Purdue in there. Yeah, it's just
people
a
don't,
mess.
unless you're winning, then you want to talk
Yeah,
about
go
the
across,
brackets. Yeah.
And put it this way, no one cares.
That's at the end of the day, unless you're going to win something, even if it's a pat on the back or you get bragging rights in the office. But again, nobody talks about their bad bracket.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the national championship game is April 8th. It's also the same day that the Cardinals' offseason strength and conditioning program begins. It's the day that Kingsbury has been looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get out there and get started. It seems like I've been here a year and haven't met the team yet, so it's been a lot of other things other than coaching. I'm so excited to get that going.
Okay, not quite a year, although I'm sure to him it does feel like a year, but officially 3 months before meeting the team. He was hired January 8th, and then, of course, April 8th, the team gets together for the first time. And today, actually, there are a handful of teams that have already started their offseason program. The Dolphins, Broncos, Browns, and Buccaneers. You could either start this week or next week for those teams that hired a new head coach following the 2018 season. So 4 teams this week, 4 teams next week, and then everyone else on April 15th.
Yeah, and the 4 teams that are starting next week, since you pointed out who's starting this week, will be Cardinals, Jets, Bengals, and the Packers. Now, I looked at the Raiders. They may not start to the 15th. Oh, Gruden's been there 1 year, yeah, but for the most part.
Although they'll basically have a brand new team, considering all the moves they've made.
They probably need an extra mini
true.
camp, but 8 head coaches, so 4 this week, 4 next week.
And the reason for the delay, Kingsbury said, is because they wanted to basically just go straight forward. It's a scheduling thing as far as if you started this week, then you'd have to take a break. Now you can start next week and just go straight through until, of course, you break for training camp.
Yeah, I'm sure players appreciate that because, you know, you get these guys 3 or 4 days a week, depending on what phase it is, and they get the weekends off, and a lot of guys get out of town. So get the schedule over, you know, early June. They'll have about 6 weeks off before training camp, and they can appreciate that. Again, this is the first phase, and really you're not getting into the football aspect. But again, him addressing the team, and then them trying to learn the different personalities, learning the new coaching staff when they get their hands on these guys.
Now, ahead of next week, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports the Cardinals hosted a pair of free agent cornerbacks today, Morris Claiborne and Tremaine Brock. Of course, the Cardinals have been active with regards to corners this offseason. Robert Alford filling that number 2 cornerback spot opposite Patrick Peterson. But you've always maintained, MJ, that they are looking for a slot corner, and perhaps Claiborne or Brock could fit that role.
Yeah, you know, Brock actually played for Vance Joseph and some of the coaching staff in Denver last year. He was in Minnesota for 2017, a longtime 49er. And then you look at Maurice Claiborne. Of course, everyone's going to mention LSU and the LSU connection. You know, he dealt with a lot of injuries in Dallas. He was He was a first-round pick, actually the SEC Player of the Year when he was coming out. And he's been able to stay healthy. He's played in 30 games over the last 2 years with the New York Jets. You know, either or would be a nice slot corner. And we talked about this. Usually you have slot corners that have experience, and so you like to have a slot corner with experience. Both of these guys have experiences. I don't know what their different traits are. I don't know how much Brock's played inside. We know that Claiborne's been an outside guy. So is this more for depth? Because you look at it right now, you know, on the roster, you know, you got Brandon Williams and Dietrich Nicholas. Josh Shaw is more of a free safety, so he's not a corner. So they're going to flood the position, but I do think it's something they want to address, and I still think they could address the position in the draft just for depth. But I think a veteran guy would fit perfect as a slot corner. Again, we're not going to see 3 safeties this year. We're going to see 2 safeties and 3 corners when teams go nickel and dime when they go nickel and dime based on teams going 3 and 4 wide.
So we'll see if and when the Cardinals might make a move. Nothing official as of yet. There has been a couple of other announcements, though, with regards to the Cardinals, and they announced their plans today for the 2019 draft party. Mark it down on your calendar. Thursday, April 25th on the Great Lawn outside State Farm Stadium. 4 o'clock, the fun begins. Cardinal players, Big Red, the 2019 Cardinals cheerleaders will be in attendance, and a special post-draft fireworks show will cap off the night. Just go to azcardinals.com for more details.
And admission and parking, free.
Actually, the best word ever.
Free.
Free, yes.
Get there early. It's going to be a party. I mean, it's going to be a lot of excitement.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wouldn't leave early because it's possible they could maybe move back in the first round. So it's going to be a great night. Obviously, having the first pick, a lot of excitement going there. But again, admission and parking, absolutely free. Tell your friends.
Also, the final stop on the Cardinals Caravan is this week. It's actually on Wednesday. Buda Baker will be in Prescott. Just go to azcardinals.com/caravans for more information. Now, back to the draft talk. azcardinals.com also continuing its The 1 at 1 series, looking back at the last 30 number 1 overall selections and that player's impact not only on the team but the league as well. And over the weekend, Darren Urban and Kyle Odegaard revisited the 95, 96, and 97 top picks. Those three would be Kajana Carter, Keyshawn Johnson, and Orlando Pace. Obviously, of those three, Pace, a Hall of Famer.
Johnson had a good career.
He did.
He kind of bounced around.
I don't know about the numbers compared
Being the
to wide
first
receiver,
overall
but yes,
pick,
that
yeah.
was huge for him, a huge honor. And again, we've talked about this. When you get that number 1 tag, there are huge expectations, and you almost have to become a Hall of Famer or at least lead your team to a Super Bowl and a winning Super Bowl run. And Pace certainly when he becoming a Hall of Famer, that solidifies number 1.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a guy like that could protect the blind side of a quarterback, whether it was Mark Bolger when he was there, when they moved on from Warner, and then you get that running game going and the protection and I mean, that was a home run. It was a grand slam. I mean, and you're talking about an offensive lineman with the first overall pick. It changed the franchise based on Warner obviously was a late addition when he bounced around a little bit. But he got the opportunity there, and then obviously went to New York, and then he came to Arizona. But for the most part, I mean, that to me, when you can talk about a Hall of Famer when we look back at that draft. But again, the other two guys, Keyshawn, I would say, had a nice career, not a great career.
Yeah, and Kajana Carter just had major injuries, especially early on in his career, and just could never overcome
Imagine
them.
taking a running back first overall. You don't see that now.
No.
Even Adrian Peterson didn't go first overall. Barry Sanders didn't go first overall. I want to say he went third. And Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley are all top 10 picks, but number 1 overall. Wow.
It's certainly been a lot of fun looking back at past number 1 overall draft picks. You can go to azcardinals.com daily to see what Darren and Kyle have for that particular day. Of course, this year, and the Cardinals' number 1 overall pick, the two names most closely associated with the team, Kyler Murray and Nick Bosa. Reports had the Cardinals having dinner with Bosa Friday in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they're also reportedly hosting Bosa later this week, who Ian Rappaport is reporting that Bosa is meeting with the Giants tomorrow, so a busy week for Bosa. And the Oakland Raiders did not host Kyler Murray, but in Dallas they had a private workout with the former Heisman Trophy quarterback. So it's just some things to keep an eye on and, make what you want out of what is being reported. And at least with the Raiders, confirmed.
Yeah, I mean,
they tweeted out a picture of Murray and Tim Brown. So
well, those are Heisman Trophy
Yes.
winners, so they're having a little fun there. But it did come from their Twitter account. I still want to put Quentin Williams in there. I know there's no reports about him coming in. Doesn't mean I'm assuming they met him at the combine, but I don't know that for sure. Just when you get to interview 60 guys. But I would put him in that same conversation. Interesting about the Giants. I mean, they're picking 6th. I don't see Bosa lasting that long, so maybe the Giants are trying to move up a little bit. It's interesting. And if you're these guys, if teams picking 20, but you don't know if they're going to move up, I think you got to go on these visits, okay?
Well, and to a certain extent, an agent say, well, make it worth our while, or at least convince us. And if you're Nick Bosa, convince my client that you're actually making at least an attempt or have an idea to move up. Otherwise, I haven't seen Nick Bosa drop below 2 or 3. Yeah, 3. I mean, there's no way he would fall to number 6.
Now, they could try to move up. The Jets want to get out of there. Now it's a matter of what do the Niners do, and we're getting ahead of ourselves. What do the Cardinals do at 1? But it's interesting that the Giants and Nick Bosa, he's made it clear, I want to be the first pick in the draft. And it's not so much the Cardinals. It's just he wants to be the first pick in the draft. He feels like he's worthy of it. And there's a lot of guys. I'm sure Murray feels the same way, and Quentin Williams won't come out and say he's got a different personality. But there's a lot of guys. it'd be interesting to see, after the first pick, who's trying to move up to get that edge pass rusher, because there's a premium for those guys. And, Josh Allen from Kentucky, a little bit different than Bosa. And then you throw in some linebackers from LSU. White, he's a guy that's probably going to go 5th overall. So you could start to see the top 5 players in this draft. I would say it's Murray, in any order,
yes,
based on your needs or what you're trying to accomplish. The Niners don't need a quarterback. The Jets don't need a quarterback. Okay, the Buccaneers don't need a quarterback. So I would say Murray, Bosa, Williams, Josh Allen, and I will put Devin White in there, the linebacker from LSU. He can play inside and outside. And all reports are that he'll go number 5 to the Buccaneers. Again, somebody could jump them. That's the fascinating thing about the draft. Once you're on the clock, a lot of things can happen.
Just getting started here on a Monday afternoon as we broadcast from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, and, of course, doing so in our Bose QC35s. Just go to Bose.com for more information. All right, we are all anxious to see what the Kingsbury offense will look like. For starters, it certainly sounds like you're going to see the quarterback not under center. More times than not, as Kingsbury explained last week, the Cardinals will operate out of the shotgun.
I've never seen disadvantages. Some people say there are. I don't. I mean, I know some people say you got to have a downhill run game from under center, but then you watch Baltimore with Lamar last year, and he was in shotgun 100% of the time, and they led the league. I mean, they had 230 yards a game in rushing, and so I've never bought into that. Some other people have theories about it, but I think you can do everything just as well from shotgun as you can under center. It just eliminates having to get away from the center. Those are big guys pushing back in your face right away, so you're seeing a clear picture sooner, whereas when you're under center, it takes a while to see the field and see that clear picture. And so to me, you're able to see it clear pre-snap and post-snap.
Of course, it obviously makes sense based off what Kingsbury is used to doing in college. And even over the last, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, you're seeing more teams operate out of the shotgun, even on a first down, not the traditional third down. Let's back up the quarterback so he has more time because you're afraid of the rush. But there's been a noticeable switch, a philosophical change, if you will, as far as whether a quarterback is under center or in the shotgun.
Well, I think it's because of the RPOs. I mean, when RG3 got in the league, a lot of people didn't think he was going to survive. I mean, he was basically beat up. I remember the Rams game. They threw him in like a rag doll. Now, he wasn't able to protect himself. Maybe, and that was a year that he actually went to the postseason. He had the knee injury. But, you see Mahomes, Goff, Russell Wilson. I'm missing some quarterbacks. That Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. They're running the RPOs now. And the RPOs are you're in the gun, and it's really you have 2 plays, even 3, and they all look similar. Where if the defensive end is going to rush the quarterback and maybe it's going to be a run play, you have the ability to pull it out of his belly and throw the ball. If the defensive end is going to sit there and try to tackle, maybe you're running to the other side. So it's really because of the RPOs. And, again, that starts in high school and it's now in college, and you have more mobile quarterbacks that are doing that. It's not so much the air raid. It's the RPOs and the mobility of the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is a prime example. He's in the gun. Brady's in the gun. And I do agree with Kliff. Clearly, he's forgotten more football than I ever know. When you're at center, you have to turn your shoulder as you're going back, so now you can't see the entire field. You could see
you've taken your eye off the defense.
Well, and you're hoping your left tackle is able to cover the pass rusher. I mean, when you break the huddle, you look at the entire field. You kind of have an idea where you want to go, but when you're doing it. Now, the only thing I'm curious about is play action, because you have to really be under center to sell the play action. You're under center, the running back has to run through, the linebacker suck into the gap, and then that's where you can throw over the top, and that's where Josh Rosen was very effective, especially on the Christian Kirk plays, and even the throw to Ricky Seals-Jones. But when you're in the gun, you see everything. Only thing you got, and really it's a feel. You don't even look at the ball. You see the ball coming, but your eyes do not come off down the field. So that would help a guy to get a little bit of a jump on what the defense is doing. You know what I mean? You could see him moving around, but now you don't have to turn your back on the defense.
The other adjustment is more towards the running back, and this was the follow-up question to Kingsbury last week, was with respect to David Johnson and how Johnson and the rest of the running backs would deal with taking handoffs from a quarterback who works out of the shotgun.
I think he's going to be really excited with what we do. I know he wants to get back to kind of the form he had in previous years, and that's our goal, is to make sure we're doing things that he's comfortable with and can excel at and that he likes to do. And so I haven't had a chance to really sit down with him and go over things extensively, but we're going to try to build this thing around him.
Yeah, you look at Le'Veon Bell. I know he sat out last year. He's a guy that they've done a great job. See how he works with the Jets. I mean, you look at Todd Gurley. I mean, there's some video online right now. Sean McVay is really running the same plays, the same formation. One's a run play and one's a pass play, and Gurley's involved in this. I mean, Gurley can line up just like David Johnson. Zeke Elliott now he caught 70 passes last year, so it's possible without, and Dak Prescott, he's in the RPO. He's in the shotgun a ton. You never see him. So it can work. Now it's just a matter of David getting comfortable with it. But if he's going to get his touches and he's not getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to love this.
Well, you don't get that running start, and it's not a full sprint, but you do have a couple of steps before you get the ball handed to you if the quarterback is under center. But the running back now, if you're walking out of the shotgun, does, like the quarterback, see the defense a little bit longer, even if it is just a half a second or a full second. Now you can decide, I'm supposed to go right. Well, that's blocked. Maybe I can cut back left. And we know Johnson is a great cutback runner.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to picture that if they're in the gun, he's on the right side. And I'm not saying you allow them to rush, but knowing that you're going to throw a screen pass to him, and it could be when the play is called, not so much putting him on the outside. I'm talking about when the ball is snapped, kind of sets up like he's going to throw it, and then a quick screen pass. And that's where David will get the ball basically at the line of scrimmage while he's still running. Again, 2.5 seconds or less. That's what they want to do with their quarterbacks, getting rid of the football.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on as this team actually hits the field here in the coming weeks. But we're not going to know much, if anything at all, for real until training camp and actually this team starts playing some preseason games and then even on into the regular season.
It's exciting, though.
It all sounds good, and I'm intrigued. And just like Kingsbury, you're anxious. You want to see what you have on the chalkboard to see now translate onto the field.
Well, since the owners' meetings were here, Sean Payton came out and said, I look forward to playing these teams with new head coaches. And then I thought Ken Summers did a really good job saying, Andy Reid said, you got to be careful because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it'd be interesting to see who their opponents are in September. Can Kingsbury surprise anybody? So there's two edges of the sword. And Sean Payton was just talking about, going after these new head coaches. But he was also talking about, maybe some of these teams should have hired other coaches just from some
more experience.
More experience where he said he's looking forward to it. I'm sure the Cardinals are too.
Absolutely. Now, with regard to the wide receivers with Kingsbury's offense, of course, having Larry Fitzgerald back in the fold and signed for 2019 is great. Last season, statistically, was one of Fitz's worst. He only had 69 catches, and that snapped a string of 3 straight seasons of 100-plus catches. Can Fitz hit the century mark, something that Kingsbury was asked last week?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how much we're going to be throwing it just yet, but he can still play at a high level. Watching the film last year and watching late in the year how hard he was playing, the speed he plays the game with, he's got such great route savvy that he's going to be very effective in our offense.
And, of course, we talk about numbers being down across the board, team-wise and individuals, with regard to the offense a year ago, and that's because just nothing really clicked. But there's no question that I think Fitz can still deliver. Can he get to 100? I don't know, but I can pretty much say confidently that if he stays healthy and this offense does what we all think it can, he'll blow right by 69.
Well, I mean, I can appreciate that, and Larry loves numbers, and there's certain numbers he wants to achieve. But I like to see the ball spread around a little bit more. I mean, and I'd line Larry up on the outside, and Kliff actually said we're going to do some different things with him. Now we know when Arians got here, he moved him to the slot. You got Christian Kirk on the roster. They still may add. Looks like Kevin White is going to be an outside guy. But Larry, on those 50-50 balls, I'll take my chances. And I know people say he may not get separation, but he's so savvy and crafty on route running. If the ball's there, he'll make the catch 9 out of 10 times. So, that's great, 100. I mean, I know that just century mark number, but I want to see them spread the ball around a little bit because if teams are bracketing later, like last year, they started bracketing him. And once they lost Kirk, it's like, who's open here? So other guys have to step up, and I think that's the idea with this offense. We want to get Charles Clay, where's Chad Williams, where's Trent Sherfield, where's Farrell Cooper? So interesting to see how it shakes out. But I like to see the ball spread around, even a guy like Ricky Seals-Jones. And we know that David Johnson's going to get his touches.
Yeah, and Kingsbury was also talking about moving these guys around as far as playing both inside and outside.
Love it.
Something that Kirk can do, and it just kind of depends on, you know, you're having more success against somebody playing outside or just to switch it up. Hey, we need you to get at least one catch to kind of get a feel. Let's move you inside where we can get you the ball quicker.
And we talked about 21 personnel where you're going to see a lot of 3 wide receivers, 1 tight, 1 back. I mean, I'm sure they're going to bring in other receivers just to kind of, you know, keep guys some fresh, and maybe some other younger guys are better out of the breaks than other players. So, you know, even though they're going to have 3 top receivers, I'm thinking they're going to keep 7, and I don't know that for sure. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together, only 3 tight ends. So you're going to have 5 active on game day, 1 maybe more on special teams. So it'd be interesting to see after the top 3 who are those other wide receivers, and one could be coming in the draft.
And Kevin White could be the wild card in this. I mean,
as long as he can stay healthy.
And that's the big thing. But he has the size, he has the speed.
Yep.
Maybe not as fast as when he ran at the combine, but the big thing with him is health. And if he is healthy, then I think you might see him be that deep ball threat.
And that's what they were hoping for last year. Bryce Butler, you know, he came in with a little bit of an injury. No, Kevin White's 100% healthy. He has a relationship with his collegiate coach at West Virginia, and Dana Holgerson, who now has moved on. But so there's a relationship there. There's familiarity. People are not going to go to bat if they don't think this guy has a good work ethic. And I think just being around Larry Fitzgerald, not putting it on Fitz. Fitz leads by example, but he's there, and Larry's willing to help anybody if you search him out. So to me, he's going to have to make the roster, but there's some upside if he's healthy.
More from Kingsbury at the annual league meeting a week ago, and now this concerns the offensive line. And I know this is something that really caught your attention, but when it comes to who plays center, Kingsbury asked, is it Mason Cole or is it A.Q. Shipley?
We'll see. Once again, you know, AQ's done a great job rehabbing, seeing him in there every day, working hard to get back, and he's been a tremendous player for a lot of years in this league. So Mason, you know, obviously very excited for what he did last year, and we feel like he could play a number of positions as well. And so we'll see how that competition goes.
Competition. You kind of dismissed it when we brought this up a few weeks back because you just figured it's going to be Mason Cole and then A.Q. Shipley would be the backup. But one, competition, and then two, be the fact that Cole has played other parts on that offensive line.
Yes. However, though, I mean, you went out and got Sweezy. You got Pugh under contract, and you went out and made a trade for Marcus Gilbert. Not that he's in the equation. We're talking about the guard spot. Listen, if Sean Kugler evaluates these guys, I trust him.
Absolutely.
I really do. So, yeah, to me, you can never have enough depth. And I think Shipley, his physicality and his toughness, I mean, you can't go wrong. I'm just saying Mason Cole played over 1,000 snaps. I thought that was his natural position. I know he bounced around. But if Sean Kugler feels like he's got to get the best 5 on the field, and we talked about who's going to be that extra guard active on game day, maybe Max Garcia. He's coming back from an injury. Again, you can never have enough. But I trust Sean Kugler and the coaching staff because he's, from everything I've heard, you know, he's no nonsense. He wants physical guys, and I'm not saying Cole's not physical, but depth. Worst case scenarios, he'll be the first guy off the bench. But I trust what the coaching staff's going to do here.
Yeah, play the best 5 guys, and I think that's what you'll see from the Cardinals here this season. And then the other question mark is left tackle, and it's not really a question mark of who, but the question of health with regards to DJ Humphries, who missed the last month of the season with a knee injury. The question to Kingsbury last week was whether Humphries would be available and ready to go April 8th.
He'll be ready. I'm not sure, once again, we'll be smart with how we use him, but he's been working really hard as well, whether it be at our place or working with Charles over there at his facility. And excited. I think Marcus is going to be great for him, a veteran like that, you know, both Florida cats that will have a good vibe together, and really excited to see what he does this season.
Now, the name LaCharles is LaCharles Bentley, who is a great offensive line teacher in the offseason, in which a lot of offensive linemen go to kind of get, you know, footwork and strength and conditioning ahead of OTAs and the minicamp. But, you know, he is your left tackle, but, you know, we didn't see him the last month of the season, and I don't know how much of that was, you know, could he play, or was the team being smart because of where they were with regards to the record?
I think the latter. I mean, he is your future left tackle. Now, it's a big year for him. I mean, he's had some injuries. I believe they shut him down a couple of years ago just because of the concussions. Maybe they were out of the race, but and it also allows the young guys to get opportunities. We're not talking about Corey Cunningham and some of these other guys that got a chance to play last year, and that's the other side of it. Young guys got a chance to play, but he has to be consistent, and he's got to have to play a full season. Now, I know injuries occur, but he's going to that 5th year, and it's a big year for him because I believe that they want to build around him. They want to ID him as a core, but availability and durability are just as important.
Still to come here on this edition of Cardinals Cover 2, Kingsbury gets pranked by Rams head coach Sean McVay. And, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show as we come to you here on this Monday from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center and broadcasting in our Bose QC35s. Just go to Bose.com for more information. I don't know if you've noticed, MJ, but Larry Fitzgerald appears to be everywhere here this offseason. Last week we told you he addressed the owners. The very next day he addressed the Diamondbacks ahead of their season opener in Los Angeles. His words were captured by the D-backs and part of their most recent episode of Clubhouse Access.
How you doing, guys? This is not the easiest thing for me to do. Talking to other professional athletes, obviously you guys know what it takes because you wouldn't be sitting in this locker room if you guys didn't have the skill set, the mindset, the drive, and the ability to be here playing at this level. There's a lot of correlations between the greatest athletes and the preparation, the things that they do, the way they eat, the way they train is different from the rest of their teammates. There's a dedication, there's a sacrifice that they're making that the other guys are just not willing to make. I know I play a completely different sport than you. 90% of my life is preparation. We only play 16 times a year, and for the rest of the year, it's all practice. It's all about working to be great for those 16 opportunities that I get. You guys, it's completely different. I mean, you guys play every single day, and you hardly get a chance to practice. So your mindset in terms of the things that you guys do are so different. So, I mean, there's some things that I understand, there's some things I don't understand, but I also know that in the off season, I know you guys are able to make the greatest strides. I think it's important to always remember the things that you do well. I think too often in life, we're always told about the things that we can't do or the things that we don't do well. Well, you wouldn't be sitting in this locker room if you weren't great at something, right? The conversation always changes throughout your career. I mean, when I was young, I was a first-round pick, and they were, do you think he'll be able to live up to the expectations, when you first get in the league? And then once you start showing promise and you start achieving some of the goals and you get that second contract, they say, is he going to stay hungry? Is he going to continue to play and be driven to be as great as the contract that he just received shows? And then you get a little older and say, yeah, he's had a great career, but is this sustainable? Can he still play at that level? So the challenges change, but the voices never stop. You're always going to hear the chatter. People are always going to doubt you and have things that they don't believe that you can do. But I think it's always important that you just believe the voice inside more than anything. That voice that tells you that you have the ability, that you can succeed, and that you can do the things that you know you're capable of doing. That's the voice that really matters.
Special thanks to the Diamondbacks allowing us to use that here on Cardinals Cover 2. And I'm just amazed every time I see Fitz or hear him doing something with regards to standing in front of a group and speaking. I go back to that rookie who was, I wouldn't say didn't want to deal with the media, it just wasn't his thing. And he didn't not dislike the media, it just wasn't what he wanted to do, but he realized over time, if I am the face of this franchise and I continue to have success, which he did at a personal level and even on a team level, that, people want to hear from him. And he's becoming more and more open about his journey, which I think is great to share with everyone else.
Yeah, his public speaking, I mean, probably in year 2 or 3, he knew he was going to be in front of a crowd and obviously doing all his endorsements. You have to speak well, and then you do all these different charity events, and you got to go up there and talk because people want to hear your stories. That was fascinating. Just, what it's like, and he's still friends with a lot of these guys, and he's talking to this team at the age of 35. I'm sure there's some guys in that locker room that are either his age or maybe some guys in the bullpen. But I texted Larry. I said, "You're everywhere." Have you finished yet? What else he did?
Yeah. This was. I
don't want to steal your thunder.
Yeah, well, So
what day are we at now?
This is Fitz's weekend now. So Friday Fitz was at the Dick's Sporting Goods Tempe location to host a surprise shopping spree for 14 kids from the Boys and Girls Club, Metro Phoenix, and the Phoenix Indian Center. Kids were supposed to get $100 to spend, but Fitz, who popped in unexpectedly, at least a surprise to the kids, doubled that amount to $200. And this goes back to what Fitz spoke to in front of the NFL owners about the need to be mentors and a positive role model. And here Fitz is practicing what he preached. And Dick's Sporting Goods also presented Fitz and his foundation, the First Down Fund, a grant of $250,000. That money provided 342 scholarships for kids to attend Fitz's pro camp over the weekend. But just the reaction from those 14 kids, one, you're excited because you're going to go on a shopping spree, and everyone loves that. And then all of a sudden, from around the corner, here comes
Santa Claus.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Real life Santa Claus going, hi, I'm Larry Fitzgerald.
And you mentioned, and again, Larry has a lot going on, whether he's traveling. You mentioned it was a Friday night?
That was Friday.
Yeah. Saturday
afternoon was part of his pro camp. And then Saturday night is actually basically had a double date. Double feature? I don't know how to explain it. But Friday, first he threw out the first
Saturday.
I'm sorry, that's right. Saturday. He was at Arizona State and threw out the ceremonial first pitch ahead of ASU's game against U of A. And it was former Sun Devil quarterback Manny Wilkins on the receiving end of that first pitch. And Fitz, he showing his form a little bit, kind of lobbed it. But, hey, you know what? The glove didn't move. Wilkins didn't have to move that glove at all. So that was throwing out the first pitch on a Saturday night. And then, he made an appearance at the Suns game not too much longer, and that's when Devin Booker went for 48 points and flirted with 50. So
you think he did that because Fitz was courtside?
I don't think so.
That pitch looked like John Ryan Murphy the other night against the Dodgers, didn't it? Just kind of lobbing it in there.
Well, Larry does. Plus you can't stand on the mound, right? I mean, you got to stand.
True.
And
although you know what, with Fitz, if whatever he wants to do, it's number 11.
I'm sure maybe earlier. I don't have any video of it, so maybe he got in the wind-up and tried to throw a fastball here. He's
just an eephus pitch. That's basically the eephus pitch right there.
Yeah, he can't go wrong.
Strike.
But that's a strike. And you're right, Holmes. I mean, the Diamondbacks could have signed him to for a one-day contract the other night in Los Angeles. I mean, that would have worked perfectly. So, he's basically everywhere this offseason.
Yeah, so I texted him.
I don't know what's next. What's next?
I don't know. I texted him. I said, "You're everywhere." He goes, he told me, "I'll sleep when I die."
Yeah, that's just not very enlightening or funny.
In other words, I got time to do a lot of
true.
things. I'm going to take advantage of it.
You know what he does't have time for?
Cards cover 2.
That's right. You said it, MJ. Doesn't have time for us.
Hey, listen, I'm trying it. I don't know when he's going to be in the building. Hopefully next week.
Does he report April 8th? It's voluntary. It's voluntary. It doesn't have to be here. It's voluntary.
See, you starting rumors already. It is voluntary.
It is. That was a statement of fact.
Hey, Fitz, I mean, he's under contract,
Absolutely.
So I know it's voluntary. He doesn't have to be here for every single one. I mean, I think the Browns introduced Odell Beckham, and Freddie Kitchens mentioned it was important for him to be here the first day. Now, he said he's got to take care of some stuff, so you're not going to see him a lot, at least in the first phase. But he said it was really important for him to be here today. And so when he addressed the team, so it's important to have your veteran guys here just for support. I mean, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame, and he loves being around his teammates, and he can only help them in the long run.
The bottom line with all of this talk is you never know where Larry Fitzgerald will show up.
True.
So, as they say, keep your head on a swivel and look for number 11 around town.
And I think just based on everything we've seen since the owner's video, and if you want to go to azcardinals.com, it's over 7 minutes. We got a sneak peek here, courtesy of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, this guy can do some public speaking. Cha-ching.
Yeah. If he's looking for something to do post-NFL, since he's not going to become a coach or a scout or anything like that.
If this is his last year, I hope he goes out in a bang.
Absolutely.
I really do.
We continue here on Cardinals Cover 2 from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, broadcasting in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. All right, before we hear from the Bird Gang, want you to hear this. This is from the Adam Schefter podcast, an interview he did with Rams head coach Sean McVay during the annual league meetings last week. And McVay tells a story how he pranked his good friend, Cardinals head coach Kliff Kingsbury.
I've gotten to know him, and
dinners
and some dinners. That's exactly right.
Anybody ever come to those dinners?
Yeah, we went to dinner. We went to dinner with, he's got a relationship with Pat Mahomes, and we did that. And I kind of tricked him into thinking that he was going to be in trouble with the league with tampering and stuff like that. And I think his assistant got all wigged out. He was worried about losing picks and said he better call Steve Keim. But fortunately, it was all legal, and we had a good time. It was good to see him.
Wait, hold on. So I want to hear a little bit about how you tricked him into thinking that he was tampering. I want the details.
So we have a mutual friend that I put his name in my phone as Roger Goodell. And I had this friend send me a text saying, I can't believe you're at dinner with Kingsbury and Mahomes. You know better than this. This is tampering. You're both losing picks. And I showed Kliff the text, and he saw a ghost. I said, you better call Steve Keim right away. He said, I thought I was going to lose the number 1 overall pick. And we couldn't let it go on too long, but it was pretty good. We got him good. I was talking to him about that yesterday when I saw him, but I'm pretty proud of that one, Adam.
What did he say about it when you saw him?
He said, "That's messed up. I'm getting you back, man." Because I didn't let it go on too long, but it was a pretty good joke.
You should have let it go.
I should have, but no, that was good. We were laughing. It was. I'll have to use something like that again soon.
It's a classic prank joke, Sean.
It was good.
I love that one, and I'm glad that you could share that with the audience.
I hope, and it was fun. Hopefully, the story doesn't get anybody in trouble.
How would it get anybody in trouble?
Who knows? Well, artist is over here nervous. You never know.
Well, we can allege tampering. Maybe you do want the Cardinals to get in trouble and lose the number 1 pick.
I wouldn't be upset about that.
Maybe you could turn over all correspondence between Patrick Mahomes and Kliff Kingsbury to Roger Goodell.
I think there actually might have been some things going on that are a little shady. I left the dinner after a quick hello, and they hung, and they were doing some stuff that probably isn't right.
Probably worth losing the number 1 pick for, right?
I'm with you on that.
Do you want me to notify
that's a reasonable thought.
Do you want me to notify Steve that he is in danger of losing that pick right now? I'm happy to break that story.
I think we need to do that. Let's get it on the Twitter right now.
Now, it is April Fool's Day, but that was not an April Fool's joke. But I will say this, that was a solid prank by McVay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a welcome to the NFL, because Kliff said from day one, I don't know all the rules. I'm still learning, and he probably thought, I coach this guy. I have a relationship with this guy. You're telling me I can't talk to him? Kliff, I got 2 ideas for you. You want to get him back? 2 games this upcoming season.
Yeah, very good. I like that. Run up the score a little bit. Say that extra
remember
touchdowns.
He said he's rooting for him for 14 games when he plays us? It's a little different.
Yeah.
Well, we got 2 games against him, Kliff.
We'll see when that schedule comes out, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's not waste any more time. Time for the Bird Gang to sound off here on this Monday using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved. And the show. Let's begin with Twitter. We got some draft questions, MJ. This first one, if N'Keal Harry is available after the first round of the draft, should the Cards consider taking him with the 33rd overall pick?
Well, I just wonder where he's ranked on their board. I mean, I know it's a great story, and I think he can help this franchise, but I think there's going to be a lot of quality players at 33. They got some, needs. I know they go best available player, but they can use another, tackle. You can use another outside linebacker. You can use a defensive lineman if you go a different route. So I like Harry. I think he's worthy, but I don't know if I would take him at 33. That's just me.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of, if you look, not mocks, but when they list their overall talent as far as draft prospects, Harry is in that 40 to 50 range with a lot of people.
Yeah, and we could see 3 wide receivers come off the board, and usually those guys have speed. I think he could be effective at the next level. I think he's a good route runner. He's a gritty player. I think he's good on the 50-50 balls. Now, will he get separation because of the 40 time? I think that's overrated. I think he's a good football player. I think he'd be a great addition. I just don't know at 33 though.
Another question from Twitter with regards to the draft as we get closer and closer to the draft. Do you have any predictions for who the Cards pick in rounds 2 and 3?
Well, I mean, I can go positions. I just know they want to get an offensive guard or I think offensive tackle. I think they've addressed the guard position with Sweezy on a 2-year contract. Pugh, if he's healthy, he's under contract for at least 3 more years after this season. They went out and got Max Garcia. It sounds like Mason Cole could be an option. So I think offensive tackle. I think D-line, if they don't address that in the first round. There's some tight ends they like. Again, I think they're going to address the position where they maybe thought they're a little thin, or for guys going into the final year of his contract, they want to address that position. So you're going to get a quality player, almost like a late first-round pick at 33, and who knows, maybe they'll jump back in the first round and get a guy that you can plug and play from day one because you get that fifth-year option.
Linebacker, too, both inside and outside.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I like Harry, and I just think there's going to be other needs. Now, they'll stick to their board, and we'll never know. Where is he ranked on their board? Is he ranked 40th, 35th? You're going to stick to your board at 33.
One more from Twitter. User wants to know, gentlemen, you were close to the team all of last season, and from afar, it just seemed like the organization as a whole, locker room, front office, etc., was fully behind Rosen all season long. How should fans now handle all of the Kyler Murray #1 talk? Confusing times.
Well, you got a new head coach. You got obviously Kliff came in and said, listen, Josh would work in our offense. Now, all of a sudden, when Kyle Murray decided that he was going to go pro, and we didn't know that. I mean, he wasn't even in the conversation. And then when he measures into that 5'10", I just think you look at the future. And what's the NFL? You look at Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson. I think he fits that. Again, they're going to have a tough decision to make. You got really good players on the board. Quentin Williams, Joey Bosa, Kyle Murray, and if they move down. So, listen.
Nick Bosa.
That's right. His brother's going and being Game of Thrones. I saw that earlier today.
Oh,
he's going to have a cameo in that. Anyways, so you got some quality players. Again, I don't know if I don't think they've made a decision. They haven't set their board though. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about Josh Rosen. I mean, I look at it when we went to the combine. I was thinking, pass rusher, D lineman, somebody that you can plug and play. They obviously feel like if you're going to run Kingsbury's offense, I mean, it's like syncing up your computer. He fits perfectly. Now they have to make the decision what they want to do long term.
Continuing here with Bird Gang Sound Off, moving to Instagram. This is now kind of asking us to project a little bit, but user wants to know, with Landon Collins and Tyrann Mathieu getting paid, how much do you think Budda Baker will be getting paid once his contract is up if he plays at a Pro Bowl level for the rest of his contract?
Well, he's young. He's obviously he's trending in the right direction. He's just scratching the surface. He's going back to his natural position. You don't know. You don't want to have any injuries occur. You want him to continue to play like he is. He's going to be a big part of this defense, whether he's playing the box or not. Yeah, I mean, age-wise, he could be one of the highest-paid corner safeties in football, but we need to let it play out. It's a small sample. He definitely is on his way to be one of the core players in the future.
Let's hope that's a good problem the Cardinals face.
Yeah.
And Baker has an opportunity at.
Listen, if they ID you part of your core, that means that they love the draft pick and they want to extend you. And the guys are Larry Fitzgerald, Patrick Peterson. They did it with Chandler Jones. He wasn't a draft pick. If you're a guy that they think that you could be part of the future, we're talking about 5-star players, they'll take care of you. They've done that in the past.
Appreciate everyone sounding off here. The Bird Gang Sound Off using the hashtag CardsCovered2, hashtag CardsCovered2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Appreciate everyone reaching out, and we get to as many questions as we can here, and we'll do it again on Wednesday as well, as we are inching closer and closer to the drafts. I'm about ready.
24 days.
I'm about ready.
Hey, you guys want to hear one of the best pranks in Cardinals franchise history?
Yeah.
Just came to my mind here. Remember back in the late 70s, probably mid-70s to early 80s, the NFL Today with Brent Musburger, Irv Cross, Jimmy the Greek Snyder, and Phyllis George.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one involves Phyllis George.
Okay.
She was a former Miss America from Denton, Texas, John Lott's hometown, by the way.
Get your mind right.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember Conrad Dobler?
Yes.
He was dubbed one of the meanest players, and probably the meanest player in the NFL at the time in the 70s. Part of those great St. Louis football Cardinals offensive line. Theodore, Bob Young, Tom Banks, all those guys.
History right there.
So this Conrad Dobler was supposed to have this one-on-one interview with Phyllis George. She traveled out to St. Louis. They had this interview set up in Busch Stadium. And so it was going to be after practice. So Conrad's out there having a great practice, looking forward to this interview, get some pub for the offensive line, So he goes in, and unbeknownst to him, what he thought was Dan Dierdorf went into the locker room, and he had brought his best slacks.
Of course, Phyllis George.
Yeah, he wanted to dress to impress. So allegedly, Dan Dierdorf cut off the pant leg of one of his pants. So he had one full-length leg, and the other one cut off like very high, like upper thigh area. So he he destroyed the locker room. Absolutely, just threw stuff around. And for years, he thought it was Dan Dierdorf. When it turned out it was Hall of Famer Jackie Smith that did that several years before, and Dierdorf was trying to deny it to him, and he thought it was Dierdorf. He's like, okay, Dan
That's
Dierdorf.
some great history right
that's
there.
good stuff.
That's
So
good
that
stuff.
was one of the best pranks that I can remember.
Imagine that. This tough guy, considered a dirty player, definitely played, the echo of the whistle, and sometimes got a lot of penalties. And here, Phyllis George comes in and he wants to get his best suit on.
So he still needs to do the interview.
Yeah,
so he had to
sit.
He had to borrow. I have a good source that told me he had to borrow some pants from someone who was maybe his size. So I mean, back then the offensive linemen weren't that big like today's standards or whatever. So, but he had to find like the biggest guy and just borrow some pants. But even the biggest guy he could find that had nice pants on him that day was a smaller dude, so he put him on, and he's like waddling through the locker room on the way to this interview, and he has to worry about splitting his pants when he sits down in a chair. But he was mad for years at Dierdorf about that, and it turned out not to be Dierdorf; it was Jackie Smith. So,
that's a good story.
That's good.
That's
stuff,
a great
Holmes.
prank.
Yeah.
I mean, like he said, somebody's coming here to give us some credit to the
And you're
offensive
hyped,
line, and it
excited,
happens to be
national,
Phyllis
yeah.
George, and he's excited.
That's great. By the way, don't ever think about doing that to me. Just put an idea in your head.
I don't know when you're going to be doing an interview with Miss America. But
No, that's true. That's true. Plus, are you into April Fool stuff?
No, I'm not. No. But a good prank, I enjoy it every so often. Like the McVay Kingsbury thing.
Right,
now we got to wait
exactly.
to see what Kingsbury does in return.
Now, are you on heavy alert today because of it? No,
no. You just kind of know in the back of your mind. Don't really.
Well, I see
believe.
like guys like Darren Velt are tweeting stuff out and like this is not April
Well,
Fools.
you've got to, otherwise people don't believe it.
you have to put it through a filter,
Yeah,
no doubt.
just to make sure. I mean, I've never been.
Cardinals had one a couple years ago. Cologne, it was Cologne.
Cardinals cologne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they had an app where you can only date Cardinal fans. People literally thought it was true. The first tag I saw, I looked back at it, somebody sent me a link, and the first guy's like, good, because I don't want to date a Seahawks girl. I'm like, this is not accurate. It's not factual. You can date anybody you want.
Check the date. It is April 1st. Appreciate everyone tuning in here. This edition of Cardinals Cover 2. Promise no pranks coming up on Wednesday's show.
No. Hopefully no pranks between now and midnight.
Here's hoping your pants stay intact.
Special thanks to all those behind the scenes: Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Devin Henry, Jackson Sipes, and Mike Connor. He supplies the power that we appreciate, and he does it, well, basically whenever we need it.
Thank you,
7 days a week. So
Thank you.
much appreciated. We'll talk to you again. For Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. This has been Cardinals Cover 2.